Thanks, Adelia, for all these good words. And hi, folks, everybody here. Just here to this sad story about the Helicobacter pylori history. There are no conflicts of interest about this story. And we all know nowadays, we have to know now, all of us nowadays, that Helicobacter pylori may cause chronic active gastritis, this is what is written, and may cause gastric ulcers and gastric peptic cancers as well. Hence, the treatment for Helicobacter pylori eradication is amoxicillin plus antibiotics, plus maybe, plus or no plus anyway. And the vaccine is already under construction, is on the way, a vaccine is coming. So this cancer is of infectious etiology. But things were not a few decades ago, so when I was a medical student, not so many decades ago anyway, but my wise surgery professors did not know the etiology of peptic ulcers, and they just did not know the etiology, and they made some hypotheses, and they told about blood groups and about hot food and about stress, and the treatment was not antibiotics, of course, it was surgery, and there were some quite severe surgeries for Pylori 1 named, I remember them as a student, and Pylori 2 from the name of the surgeons who have invented these surgeries. And that were really major surgeries, and the hospitals were packed of patients waiting to have their Pylori and their Pylori 1 or Pylori 2 or their gastrectomy. Anyway, not antibiotics anymore, those types. And the whole things changed when two colleagues from Australia, Robin Warren and Barry Marshall, wrote in a letter to the Lancet. Those times you see the nice language they used that was common in the letters to the Lancet, to the journals those times. Sir, gastric microbiology has been sadly neglected and so on. Well, they linked Helicobacter pylori to peptic cancer and gastric ulcers. And that was a breakdown, that was a very sharp change in our knowledge. And they received the Nobel Prize for this, so to say, letter to the editor, for this knowledge added to our knowledge. And I'm not going to focus on this article, but to focus on another Lancet, again, article, 1999, about John Lykoudis. I did not know that physician, that name at all, before reading this article, an unappreciated discoverer of the cause and treatment of peptic ulcer disease. And that was published in the Lancet in 1999. So what about this John Lykoudis? This was a Greek physician, but could be a physician working in Romania, say, or in the UK, a general practitioner, or in Israel, I don't know where. I think that many doctors of the same age had the same ideas with him. I think so. Anyway, he worked in Greece. After graduation, he opened a medical practice in his native Messaloniki, in the middle of nowhere in Greece, somewhere. But having himself complicated peptic ulcer, he noted that when he took antibiotics, things went much better. Antibiotics in the decade of 50s, you may remember, were in their starting period. They were discovered in the 40s. So in the 50s, they were in the starting period. So he made some experimentations about antibiotic, and antiseptic combinations of these times, and he ended up with a kind of combination that he called the GACO, this combination of antibiotics and antiseptics and vitamin A, those times, of course. And these pills were given for 10 days, and well, patients went nicely. They had a good outcome, no surgery anymore needed, and there were thousands of patients cured with Dr. John Lykoudis pills. So that was a shock for these times, and he moved to Athens, because the capital city of Greece, because he needed a major practice to be open. And of course, he tried to persuade the medical authorities and the health authorities and the state authorities, but really unsuccessfully. He tried a lot. He made a lot of trial and a lot of efforts for this in this direction, and he tried even to publish in JAMA, but the rejection letter has been saved up to date, and it states it's 1966. The manuscript, your manuscript, does not seem appropriate for our journal, for JAMA. for JAMA, for JAMA. So this is the type of answer that we, all of us, fear when submitting some manuscript to a major journal. So Dr. John Lykoudis, the late Dr. John Lykoudis, tried in vain. Why? This is up to us. I don't know. Maybe that was the wrong time of his discovery. Maybe he was not a big professor at a university. He was just a provincial general physician. Maybe he was, challenging an established dogma, so to say, a gospel truth that ulcer and gastric cancer cannot be infectious in origin. Anyway, after trying a lot, he died a disappointed man. Well, if he had succeeded, had he just succeeded, of course he would not have ended up a disappointed man. Maybe he would have received the Nobel Prize, but for sure, millions of patients would have taken the right management in these 30 years, that is antibiotics and not major surgeries, and would have skipped their Billroth 1 and Billroth 2 surgeries. And the same for other medical ideas, just to remind you about the better known case of Ignaz Semmelweis, this poor Magyar Hungarian colleague who spoke about hand hygiene, and he ended up in an asylum. He died in an asylum as a madman. So that is a story, the sad story of Semmelweis, and many, many other stories with the same context. So Dr. John Lykoudis has not been alone among colleagues. Our take-home message is that we should avoid dogmas. We should avoid dogmata in medicine. Medicine is not written in stone. Medicine changes, so we must avoid dogmas. And we must, this is my major take-home message, learn how to communicate. This is a lesson we have not had this lesson in our universities, in our 6 years university studies, the communication skills, because with communication we can manage many, many things. So we must avoid dogmas and practice observation, rationality, and evidence, and we must learn to communicate with patients, with families, with lay people, but as well with authorities and media and industry, of course, and of course with colleagues. And this is the concluding question. Are there any ID diseases for the time being, that are believed to be non-ID? You know better, and it's up to you to discover maybe later on that this disease that is not considered to be ID today may need just antibiotics. This is up to you. Thanks a lot, and this is the end of the session.